WNBA Finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. You know, I'm a human too.
It was supposed to be the one day of the year when the noise finally stopped. Christmas morning, 2025. A pause button, a rare ceasefire in a season that had stretched everyone inside the WNBA to their limits. For the league office, and especially for Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, the holiday break was meant to be quiet, controlled, and predictable. The season had delivered record-breaking viewership and national relevance, but it also came loaded with controversy, internal tension, cultural fractures, and non-stop scrutiny. Every decision felt magnified. Every comment became a headline. Leadership needed a moment to breathe, a brief window where the news cycle would drift elsewhere. They needed attention locked on NFL Christmas games, NBA holiday matchups, or literally anything outside the internal politics of women's basketball. But at exactly 10 a.m. Eastern Time, while families were opening gifts and sports media was still waking up, a notification went out that shattered that hope completely. It was not a press release from the league. It was not a statement from the commissioner. It was not even a highlight from the WNBA's official channels. It was a Nike tweet, 32 seconds long, one video, one player, and it reportedly sent the WNBA front office into a state of full-scale panic. The commercial, titled "From Anywhere," featured Caitlin Clark and did something no scandal, no labor dispute, and no controversy had managed to do in years. It exposed the shifting power structure of women's basketball in a way that could not be spun, softened, or controlled.
I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments.
To understand why a sneaker commercial triggered such a visceral reaction, you have to look beyond basketball. You have to look at authority, leverage, and who actually controls the future of the sport. For decades, the WNBA has operated under a very specific philosophy. The collective matters more than the individual. The league promotes the 144, the idea that every roster spot is equal, every story matters, and no single player is bigger than the organization. It is a deliberate approach, one Commissioner Engelbert has defended repeatedly as protection against volatility. The theory is simple. If the brand stays bigger than any one player, the league stays stable, insulated from the chaos that comes when stars gain too much influence. But when From Anywhere aired on Christmas morning, that carefully managed philosophy took a direct hit. Years of messaging built around collective identity, shared spotlight, and institutional balance were suddenly overshadowed by one tightly produced, highly intentional piece of marketing that made no attempt to hide its focus. This was not a standard sports advertisement meant to blend into a league campaign. It was cinematic, high-budget, and polished to the level of a theatrical trailer rather than a basketball promo. The lighting, pacing, and tone felt designed for a global audience, not for a niche league rollout. Every frame signaled scale, confidence, and ambition well beyond the traditional boundaries of WNBA marketing. The celebrity presence only reinforced that message. Travis Scott, Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce, and other recognizable figures from mainstream culture placed Caitlin Clark squarely inside pop culture's highest tier. These were not cameos meant to honor league history or celebrate team success. They were cultural endorsements, signaling relevance far outside the basketball ecosystem. The message was unmistakable. There was no 144 concept embedded here, no suggestion of collective equality or shared elevation. The framing made it clear that this story revolved around one person. Caitlin Clark stood at the center, with the rest of the sport fading quietly into the background. For a commissioner who has built her leadership model around maintaining ecosystem balance, that shift was more than uncomfortable. Seeing a single player elevated to near-myth status without league oversight or coordination represented a direct challenge to institutional authority. It was not just about branding, it was about control. What reportedly kept league executives on the phone throughout Christmas Day was not simply the existence of the commercial, but what it deliberately left out. There was almost no visible WNBA branding, no league narrative, no emphasis on team play, history, or shared identity. The focus never drifted. The visual story positioned Clark not as a representative of the league, but as a standalone cultural figure whose identity exists beyond uniforms, franchises, or institutional limits. That distinction matters more than any statistic. The tagline captured it perfectly. From anywhere. It functioned as both question and answer. Can this be done from here? From anywhere, she responds. That framing disconnects Clark from geography, league structure, and even sport itself. It implies mobility, autonomy, and scale. And once that idea is planted, it cannot be contained. Insiders suggest Engelbert viewed the campaign as a rogue move. Typically, league partners like Nike coordinate closely with the WNBA to ensure marketing aligns with league messaging. This did not feel coordinated. It felt like Nike flexing its power. The underlying message was chilling for league leadership. Nike does not need the WNBA to sell shoes. Nike needs Caitlin Clark, and that realization is terrifying for any commissioner. The timing made it worse. Just weeks earlier, the basketball world had been focused on the launch of the Unrivaled League, the new 3-on-3 venture founded by Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. Unrivaled was supposed to be a solution, a player-led, equity-driven league designed to solve the off-season problem, keep stars in the U.S., and generate real money for veterans who carried the league through lean years. Engelbert publicly supported it as part of the WNBA's broader growth plan. They wanted Caitlin Clark involved badly. Reports surfaced that she was offered over $1 million for a short stint, a historic figure, a deal that dwarfed her WNBA salary. A messy-style offer meant to anchor legitimacy. Clark declined. She chose rest, golf, recovery, stepping away from structured basketball. Or at least that was the public perception. The Nike commercial dropping on Christmas Day changed that narrative instantly. The timing felt surgical, almost too precise to dismiss as coincidence. As Unrivaled prepared for its January tip-off and tried to establish itself as a serious off-season alternative, Nike released a campaign that immediately sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Within 24 hours, Caitlin Clark's 32-second from anywhere spot generated multiple times the views of Unrivaled's entire launch campaign combined, across platforms. That was not just bad optics, it was devastating for the establishment. The contrast was impossible to ignore and even harder to explain away. A player-led league designed to empower veterans was instantly overshadowed by a single commercial built around one athlete, released without warning and without coordination. The takeaway was blunt. Caitlin Clark did not need Unrivaled to remain relevant. Unrivaled needed Caitlin Clark. And for Commissioner Engelbert, watching an off-season growth initiative she had publicly supported get buried by a sneaker ad was more than frustrating. It was a strategic failure unfolding in real time. It reinforced a dangerous reality the league has tried to manage carefully for years. Fans are not loyal to women's basketball as an abstract concept. They are loyal to Caitlin Clark. They follow the player, not the institution. That distinction matters because it strips the commissioner of leverage in ways no policy or media deal can easily fix. How do you discipline a player who holds the audience? How do you manage someone who brings the sponsors, the eyeballs, and the momentum with her wherever she goes? Those are not theoretical questions anymore. They are active problems sitting on the league's desk. The commercial also exposed a financial contradiction the WNBA has worked hard to keep in the background. One of a commissioner's core responsibilities is to present the league as professional, aspirational, and financially legitimate. Engelbert comes from a corporate background. She understands optics, valuation, and perception. And the numbers here are brutal. The production value of From Anywhere reportedly exceeded that of many WNBA broadcasts. Clark appears in custom gear, cinematic lighting, and premium settings, framed as a global figure standing shoulder to shoulder with multimillionaire entertainers and NFL stars. Then reality hits. Clark's WNBA salary would not cover the catering budget for that commercial shoot. That contrast is not subtle. It lands immediately with anyone watching. Every time that ad runs during an NBA or NFL game, it quietly broadcasts a damaging message. The real money is outside the league. The real power does not sit with the WNBA. It sits with the individual who commands attention at that scale. And once that message is out in the open, it cannot be pulled back. The league cannot unsee it, The players cannot ignore it, and the business side cannot pretend it does not exist anymore. This directly weakens the WNBA's position during collective bargaining negotiations. It hands real leverage to the Players Association in a way no speech or protest ever could. When executives sit across the table arguing about revenue splits and salary caps, all the union has to do is point at the screen and say, "Look at that value. Why are we fighting for crumbs?" That question lands harder because there is no clean answer. The visual gap between what Clark generates individually and what the league distributes collectively is now impossible to hide. Numbers that once lived in spreadsheets are now playing during NFL games in prime time. Owners have reportedly started calling the league office, asking why none of this upside is flowing back into the system. The frustration is not jealousy, and it is not personal. It is business fear. It is the realization that the league's most valuable asset is creating wealth that bypasses the league entirely. The WNBA is being cut out of the profit loop surrounding its biggest star, and Nike appears perfectly comfortable with that arrangement. From a corporate standpoint, it makes sense. From a league governance standpoint, it is alarming. But the most dangerous fallout from this commercial is not happening in boardrooms or negotiation sessions. It is happening inside locker rooms, where perception and emotion shape behavior far more than balance sheets ever could. That is where the Aja Wilson factor comes into play. Aja Wilson is a 3-time MVP and, by nearly every traditional metric, the most dominant player in the world right now. She also has a Nike deal. She also recently appeared in her own commercial. On paper, there should be no comparison at all, but the internet compared them immediately, side by side, frame by frame. The conversation took off before anyone could slow it down. Clark's ad was described as cinematic, layered, and star-studded. Wilson's was labeled simple, minimal, and understated. Whether that comparison is fair does not actually matter. What matters is that the perception formed instantly and spread faster than any correction ever could. The narrative online suggested Nike was elevating Clark at the expense of veterans. That perception carries real weight inside a league where players are already sensitive to respect, recognition, and equity. Engelbert understands this better than most. Perception drives resentment, and resentment reshapes locker rooms. Veteran players who have spent years building the league now see a rookie receiving treatment historically reserved for generational male athletes. That contrast stings. It challenges hierarchy. It challenges legacy. And it breeds tension even among professionals who pride themselves on focus and discipline. Engelbert has spent the last 2 seasons trying to cool on-court hostility, address targeting narratives, and reduce the emotional temperature surrounding Clark's arrival. This commercial undercut that effort in one stroke. It did not just add fuel to the fire, it reframed the fire entirely. How do veterans not feel slighted in this environment? How does frustration not bleed onto the court when respect feels unevenly distributed? If the 2026 season becomes emotional, physical, and reactionary, the product itself suffers, and the commissioner knows that risk better than anyone. Then there is the symbolic insult buried inside the casting choices, which may be the most overlooked but most telling part of the entire campaign. Historically, WNBA marketing makes a point to honor lineage. Legends like Lisa Leslie, Sue Bird, and Cheryl Swoops are often included to show continuity and respect. The message is clear. You are standing on something that was built before you. From anywhere, skipped all of that. There was no passing of the torch, no acknowledgement of the foundation, no visual bridge to the league's history. Instead, Clark was validated by male cultural icons, Travis Scott, the Kelsey brothers, mainstream power brokers who operate far outside the WNBA ecosystem. That choice was not accidental. It was intentional positioning. The message was loud and unmistakable. Clark does not need validation from the league's past. She is being placed inside the global celebrity class, measured against cultural relevance rather than basketball lineage. And that shift is exactly what makes this moment so destabilizing. For traditionalists, this was a slap. For gatekeepers of women's basketball history, it bypassed hierarchy entirely. Engelbert needs veterans and alumni on board. This ad alienated them. It split the audience into Clark First fans and legacy defenders, leaving the commissioner trapped in the middle. That tension connects back to the infamous Lucky Stars controversy. In October 2025, Engelbert was reported to have told players they should be grateful for the media rights deal she secured. Whether misquoted or not, the damage stuck. It painted her as an executive demanding gratitude. The Nike ad was the ultimate rebuttal. Clark did not say a word, but the message was clear. I am the value. When Nike pays Clark tens of millions while the league pays her a modest rookie salary, authority shifts. The power dynamic flips. Engelbert understands the danger. Once a player realizes they are bigger than the system loses control. The NBA lived this with LeBron, but the gap here is wider. There is also a looming threat owners fear deeply: breakaway possibilities. The question used to be whether Clark was good enough for the WNBA. That question is gone. The new question is whether the WNBA is big enough for Caitlin Clark. The commercial's global tone, ambition, and reach suggest options beyond league boundaries. Nike and Amazon could build a Clark-centered platform tomorrow if they wanted. This ad was a warning shot. We can take her anywhere. That is what terrifies the league, not anger. Fear of becoming a stepping stone rather than a destination. Even the global rollout misstep fed that narrative. International fans flooded comments asking why the shoes were unavailable abroad. Nike's logistics failure reflected poorly on the league's global ambitions. Engelbert talks about expansion, but infrastructure keeps lagging behind talent. Another missed opportunity. The psychological impact on the upcoming season cannot be ignored either. This commercial drew a line. It signaled a new order before the ball is even tipped. Players know it. Coaches know it. Fans feel it. Caitlin Clark is no longer entering arenas as just another player. She enters as a gravitational force, and gravity changes everything.